All right, guys, welcome to 5,000 Miles, where we are going to be talking about Rick and Morty, Season 8, Episode 6 today.
I can't
And
believe it's already episode 6.
we have gotten past the halfway point. And what was the actual title of this episode?
The Curious Case of Bethjamin Button.
Ah, the Curick case of Bethjamin Button. Okay, cool.
You would think that the Curious Case of Bethjamin Button would have been fine, but they have to squeeze the Rick in there, so it's the Curious Case
They
of
squeezed it
Bethjamin
in.
Button. And obviously, that is a reference to the Curious Case of Benjamin Button, which is about a dude who ages backwards.
Brad Pitt, my guy.
And this we get to see 10-year-old Beth again. We haven't seen Beth as a kid in a while.
Yeah, so I realized my first feeling was so first of all, I liked the episode, but we'll get into why I was actually disappointed by it.
Oh,
Um,
I'm interested in hearing that because I gotta say, I was a really big fan of this episode, and I thought that I guessed correctly that a lot of people online were going to be fans of this episode because I think this episode really split the uprights as far as doing a wacky story and also having a lot of heart and doing something that's a little bit more character driven and
mhm.
something that dips into the history of the series. And there's a lot of really good fan reactions to this episode.
Well, we had Tiny Rick. Now we have two Tiny Beths, but no
We had
song
two
to
tiny
go along with
Beths
it.
and also Ancient Rick,
Ancient Rick. Oh my God, was he 340 years old or something like
three
that?
360, I believe. He was
Yeah.
360 years old, which is as far as the aging machine could go up to.
Right. So, brief synopsis. Beth is both Beth and Space Beth are frustrated with their lives, and they decide to age themselves both backwards and try to enjoy being a child again, whilst Rick, Morty, and Jerry go to Earth World, and
Earth World.
which is where you are.
Which is, yeah, you can see I'm here at Earthworld, and I'm not in the new cheesy Earthworld too. I'm in the old school Earthworld with all the
You're in
rusty nails and whatnot.
the punk rock of
I'm
Earth
I'm a
Worlds.
I'm a purist when it
So
comes
you
to Earthworld.
so you had to wear your punk rock shirt to the punk rock version. So Earth World is this off-planet, Earth-themed, corny amusement park. And so yeah, the episode plays out from there. But initially, okay, so first of all, I gotta say, Danny DeVito, my guy, come on,
I
who
know
doesn't love
you. I knew you were gonna be stoked about that.
Dr. Dogballs, my man!
Humans! Real humans!
The mad genius who built Earthworld!
Nobody loves Earth as much as me.
I knew that you love Danny DeVito, as do I, as does the entire internet. So this was a great choice to have him come in as sort of like the guy who set up the entire Earthworld amusement park. And so yeah, love to see Danny DeVito in anything. He's always great.
Oh
And
my
he was
God, dude.
killed at the end, spoiler alert, when he gets killed by the people going on the rampage, the big characters. One of the characters that's eating him is a Danny DeVito.
Yeah. So, dude, it's just great to have one of my favorite shows crossing over. Well, Always Sunny character showing up in Rick and Morty, an Always Sunny actor. So, yes, of course, I get a nerd boner for that. But so that when they got the Beths, right, and Rick walks away and goes, nobody wants to see a Beth adventure.
Fine, but nobody wants to see a Beth's adventure.
That
Yep.
was kind of funny, but I think we
That was a
did.
nice little meta moment where he said that because, some people aren't stoked about the Beth episodes, but I really like the inclusion of Space Beth in the show and really delving into their characters together. I thought this was a great episode to explore that. I thought it was really cool in this episode that we get to see we heard a little bit about Beth as a kid in the season 3 episode, the ABCs of Beth.
Yeah, I
And
certainly want to talk about that.
Rick kind of mentioned that she was a little bit of a handful. And here we see that, oh man, two Beths was definitely too much to handle, and she was definitely a little psychopath.
Oh my god! Oh my god! My ankles!
Because the only time that we've seen young Beth was just in the flashback where we see her get killed. And this is our first time actually seeing the behavior of like a young 10-year-old Beth. And man, the way they went after Jean and everything, it was disturbing.
It actually legitimizes though the point that Rick had made in that episode. If you remember, I think there's a quote where he goes like, "You were a crazy kid," and then he's got that list of all the shit that she like asked for when she was a kid.
Right. And one of which was the teddy bear with anatomically correct innards, which makes an appearance in this episode. And another one was um
Yep,
the
yep.
bear trap, which he called the parent trap, and he literally stepped into the parent trap at the end when he goes up into the treehouse. He steps in the bear trap.
The little Beths, they certainly set everything up in no time flat. They're two little peas in a pod.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw in the treehouse too, is he had brought up that little monster statue that we always see on the shelf in the garage. So that was a fun little thing too, because I don't we've never learned the backstory on what that little monster statue is that's on the shelf in the garage, but for some reason she brought it up into the treehouse with her. So I thought that was cool to see that.
Yeah, that was definitely cool. When both Beths come out and they smash the thing so that they can't turn themselves old again.
And we do the
That
high pitch screeching.
it was like, okay, this episode is on now because we're
Oh
gonna have a
yeah,
serious
definitely.
problem. Once they smashed that thing, I'm like, okay, this is gonna get really hairy in there. And we find out that Beth's 34 years old. I'm sure
We
she's
do
not
find that out,
happy. I'm
yeah.
sure she's not happy that we know that now. But we
I,
do
I
know
like
that
all
she
the
was.
things that she says about being older, is that like you're in so much pain and you don't even realize it. And then when she's younger, she's like, my mouth tastes so clean and I can see everything. And it's like, yeah, you really, age has a way of really tearing you down slowly so you don't really notice it until you get so old that you're like, oh man, I feel so decrepit.
My face. My skin.
I can see everything. My mouth tastes so clean. Whoa, my knuckles work.
And she said something about her knuckles or whatever. But yeah, it's like, who knows?
Yeah, my knuckles work.
Who knows what we are used to at our age that we would all of a sudden be so happy to have back if we were 10 years old again. Listen, let's talk about Gene. This is probably his biggest role ever, I would say, in terms of how much he
This
was
is
in
the
it.
most, yeah, I mean, we haven't seen this much Gene in an episode since the Mr. Poopy butthole episode, how Poopy got his poop back, because Gene went out partying with those guys, but he was really just an ancillary character. In this episode, he is an entire part of the B plot. This is the first time this season that we've gotten a B story, because a lot of people were talking about the lack of B stories in recent episodes, and this is cool to see. We got one story going on here. We got the B story with the Beths going on, and I think it really helps with the pacing, and it takes a lot of pressure off both individual stories.
I think that the Beth story needed the pressure taken off of it, and so I thought they did a great job with that. But
Right.
like Gene shows himself to be a competent, intelligent guy who's being affected by having to live near the family,
And
Rick's
to
family.
have somebody that understanding
Yeah.
and rational about the entire thing is probably the perfect neighbor that you could have. But it is still necessary that Rick intercepts all of his 911 calls. So it was cool to see that, and it was also cool to see at the very end the tag is all of the times that he's been intercepted with his 911 calls. And
Right.
so there's a couple little good gags at the end there. So I really love that.
Did you play the guess the tag game in your own
I
head or did
did.
you
I
forget?
did play the guest to tag game. I did think it was going to be Gene related, and I was very happy to see that it was just a little kind of like voicemail answering machine tag.
If you thought it was going to have to do with Gene, you get the win.
Yeah.
You get a point and I do not because my guess was it was going to be one of the oddball giant-headed celebrities having something to say. So I thought it was either going to be Kevin Costner or one of those characters like living in the fallout of what they had done and then have something funny to say. So that was my guess and I was incorrect.
Yeah. Did you particularly like any of the big-headed characters? I liked seeing all the Culkins because I'm a fan of a lot of the Culkin family. I liked seeing one of them that wasn't mentioned was Ruth Bader Ginsburg, was one of the ones that you could take a picture with.
I
Um,
actually thought that they weren't distinguishable enough.
oh, I thought they
I,
were quite distinguishable. There
I
was a Count Chocula, there was a Ted Danson,
yeah,
there was a Weird Al Yankovic.
I picked up on maybe half of them. Again, I only watched the episode once, and maybe if,
Did
but
you did you pick up on the Peyton Manning one? There was a Peyton Manning.
I did not.
Yeah, so if you get a chance, go back and look at all the big head characters. There's a lot of really funny ones in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think the one that made me laugh the most was probably Ted Danson, just because he is in the show Cheers, and the show began with the theme song from the show Cheers.
Making your way in the world today takes everything you've got.
Yes, it did. And so, okay, so let's get to the point of the real crux of the episode here, the real plot points that got fleshed out. So they set us up with this feeling about where Beth and Space Beth are both at mentally, right, in their lives. And I thought they
Right.
were set. My initial feeling as I'm listening to the cheer song and I'm seeing what they're doing at the beginning of the episode, I'm
That was
like,
a great sort of like day in the life
yeah,
type
but
of little montage that we got to see.
it was cool. But I thought that they were going to get more along the lines of like they were going to make this like really profound, you can't run away from who you are kind of point.
Yeah.
Like even though they're both cloned, they're going to experience this because they're the same person. Even if you take them and put them in another setting, it's like a grass is always greener kind of point, right? And I don't think they set me up to make that point, and then they didn't make that point. It really wasn't about that. So, and I kind of wanted it to be. So that was one of my sources of disappointment. Although the bigger one was, and the more significant one was, we've been waiting in a really big way to understand like how Rick and the two Beths feel about what has gone on and who they are and why they are that person. And there's kind of this unresolved thing that stems from Rick not even knowing which one is the original Beth and which one's the clone. And
But
all
is it unresolved though? Because I feel like at a certain point they've kind of hammered home the fact that Rick doesn't know which one is which. They've gone out of their way many times to show that each Beth is sort of content where they're at, and I don't think they really need to put any more like I don't think they need to put a bow on that anymore. I think that maybe somewhere down the line it will come into play, but I feel like the series has left it at a point where it doesn't really matter knowing which one is the clone and which one isn't. And I think the characters have all found enough resolution with their point in life to just leave things be and leave them the way that they are.
I mean, I would agree that the series doesn't owe it to us and they don't need to do it. And to your point, yes, they have resolved it enough that the show's okay to just push forward. But we get that scene in the garage. They chose to give us that scene. You got the two Beths there, you got 400-year-old Rick, and then their interaction kind of resolves with like him saying, I'm proud of both of you. And then they just kind of both put their arms around each other or something like that. And that felt
Right, so
like
that's
they,
why that's why I don't feel like you're being fair by saying that it was a little bit of a disappointment because I don't think that the series really owes us any more delving into the relationship between the two Beths, but it was a really poignant moment to see how Beth as a kid felt about her dad and
yeah,
how she feels about her dad right now. There's a great moment in this episode where they're saying, "Oh, you abandoned us," and Ancient Rick says, "I didn't abandon you. My Beth died," and then they all start crying together, and that was such an
yeah,
emotional moment, and it was such a great way of saying like, "Hey, I'm the Rick that showed up." You know what I mean? It's
yeah.
like I'm not the stepdad, I'm the dad that stepped up. Have you ever heard that phrase?
Well,
It's
I
like
guess
Rick's not the one that abandoned them, and maybe they do feel like they were abandoned, and that's why we've seen even from season one, we've seen that Beth has had abandonment issues, which is why she allowed Rick to kind of walk all over her a little bit in the first season.
a lot
But
bit.
Yeah, but that's not on C-137 Rick. He's the Rick that stayed there, and he's not the one that abandoned Beth. And I thought it was a beautiful and touching moment to see them all have that together and get a little bit of resolution on that point.
But it's scary to have your life in the hands of unreliable caregivers. Oh, you didn't want us! You just wanted to fuck off!
I didn't leave. My Beth died. Proud.
Proud?
Proud of you for making me old and beating the shit out of me. You're both my daughters.
You know what? My thing is that I wanted it to be beautiful and emotional, and for some reason it didn't strike me the way I wanted it to. They made their point, they did it, and it just didn't hit me the way I wanted it to. I'm like, shit, man, they're really making a big point here, and I feel like they could have like done it a little better or like tugged at my heartstrings a little more because this is a significant moment. And so all I'm going to do is qualify it as mild disappointment, and I need to watch the episode another time or two and see if it was maybe handled a little better than the way it made me just feel.
So you would have just liked the execution to be a little bit better.
Correct. I mean, and that's just from the one watch. Maybe I will feel differently when I look at it through the lens of understanding that that is what they're doing. But that is the
Yeah.
only source of my disappointment because I was thinking to myself, man, this is huge. This is
Yeah.
actually really big. This is an 8, 9 year type plot point that they're making an advancement on. This is important here.
Right.
And it just didn't grab me the way I wanted it to, even though I knew they were making that point. And that's maybe more on me than it is
How
on any
about
of them.
what'd you like about the character design of 300-year-old Rick, 360 Rick? Because you can see that all of his flesh is kind of gone at that point, and you can see all of his bionic eye and his bionic arm are still hanging around. Thought it was a great character design to see what it looked like when he was 360 years old.
Yeah, it was humorous. He couldn't get up. His bones would break over nothing.
Yeah.
Um, it was very cool. And that the fact that he was even able to still communicate, they're like, turn it up as far as it goes. Lucky they
I
didn't
want to
kill him.
coin that term, 360 Rick. I'm 360 Rick.
So,
Now let's talk about something. I know that you and I are both really big fans of the show Westworld, particularly season 1 of Westworld. And we know that this entire episode is sort of a reference to Westworld. Dr. Dogballs is like Anthony Hopkins in the show Westworld, where he's the creator of all these characters, and then he sets them loose at the end. He references Westworld by name. He also references Jurassic Park. And even in Rick and Morty, we've had an episode, season 1, episode 3, is that Anatomy Park?
absolutely.
Where in Anatomy Park, all the attractions break loose and break down as well. Jurassic Park and Westworld are both Michael Crichton properties, and it was really cool to see them do a take on it and reference directly Westworld and Jurassic Park. I really like seeing that. And just like in the show Westworld, the creator is torn apart by his creations. So that's a little spoiler for season 1 of Westworld. Oh, and
Uh,
by the way, I know you're a big Breaking Bad fan. Did you catch the Breaking Bad Easter egg in this episode?
Gotta love Aaron Paul. Actually, no, I think this is a perfect time as we've kind of talked through the plot points to make sure that if there's any other Easter eggs that we missed, I'd love to discuss them now. I mean, I know that you posted a short with all the Easter eggs, top 10 Easter eggs from the episode. Check the short out for sure if you want to see them in
Yeah,
short
so
form.
if you guys don't know, every week we do post a short of the top 10 Easter eggs, and so there's definitely a couple worth checking out and worth mentioning it. One is that the one that I just mentioned is that when Dr. Dogballs is chained up and he's able to walk around in his little lab there,
Yeah.
that's a direct reference to Jesse's chain apparatus that they set up for him so he can walk around and cook meth
Oh
in
yeah,
Breaking
toward
Bad.
in season 5 when he's on the thing that's running along the ceiling.
Yeah, when Todd's got him all chained up, but
Yeah.
he can still move around on the track on the
Yeah.
ceiling.
And he's just growing a
So
beard.
in the treehouse, we do see a little picture of Rick that Beth drew out of crayons, and it's Rick, and he's got fangs and devil horns. So that does show Beth's mentality about how she feels about her dad.
Yeah.
Also, When they come out of the bathroom, you may have seen this when Jerry's coming out of the bathroom or the ride that he thought was a bathroom. There's an alien sitting on the left side. That is the same alien that we saw in Blips and Chits, and he actually has a line. So his line is the guy who goes, "Hey, this guy's taking Roy off the grid. This guy doesn't have a social security number for Roy."
I totally remember that line for
Yeah,
sure.
so
It's the same
that's that
alien.
alien. That's
Yeah.
the same alien. Yeah, he's got a little cat shirt, like a yellow shirt on with a picture of a cat on it.
I can't believe Morty didn't take the ass from that. Speaking of different alien designs, this is a brand new alien design we get with that chick, and Morty's
Oh
not
yeah.
having it. Morty turns it down.
I think if the Earth World characters didn't show up and tear her apart, he probably would have went through with it. We know Morty's a little coon hound.
Actually, yo, he also is on the verge of getting ass in Anatomy Park. Remember?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I
that's
guess
true.
every time Morty goes to
To an
a
amusement park
weird
where
amusement
things
park,
eventually break down.
it's good for his sexual development to go to
Yeah,
amusement
exactly.
parks.
Um, I mean, Morty has a pretty good body count as far as the show goes. He's got Planet Tina was a
Yeah.
hottie with a body. He's hooked up with Jessica. I mean, like Morty does pretty well for himself.
Yeah, let's hear the rest of the list.
In Gene's house, he's got some books on his shelf. It turns out he's reading the Twilight book series.
Interesting.
There's a poster when they go into the inter workings of Earthworld. There's a poster that has a picture of a black guy next to a can of soda, and it says, "Nothing beats a smile." That is an obscure reference to the back in the day. There was a Coca-Cola ad campaign starring Bill Cosby, and he always said, "Have a Coke and a smile," was the name of the ad campaign. So
That's risky making
that's
making a joke that's attached to Bill Cosby.
yeah, I mean it's a deep cut there. In the scene where the Beths are fighting in the backyard,
Yeah.
if you look to the right, you can see where the graves are. You can
Oh,
actually see
cool.
the graves of the family. If you remember in I think it's season 6, episode 1, where they have to leave the planet and they all show up on the Parmesian dimension.
Parmesan.
Parmesian, and so they're all digging their own graves. Those graves are visible in that episode.
When they're home aloneing. And
Of course, yeah.
enough home aloneing, guys.
And then of course, there's always gonna be some sort of license plate Easter egg, and we see there's a flying car in the Easter egg for the this flying car license plate. In this episode, the license plate says JP3 sucks, which is a reference to Jurassic Park 3.
It's just amazing that Jurassic Park could be such an incredible movie and then they could just never, ever manage to make another good one. It's like Terminator.
Recapture the magic, yeah.
It's like they just
Um,
can't find it again.
hopefully you're not disqualifying Terminator 2.
No, I'm saying Terminator 1 is a decent movie. Terminator 2 is one of the greatest movies ever. And then they've probably put out 6 other Terminators that all suck, and I've watched every friggin' one of them.
6 other dog shit Terminators after
Yeah.
that. I would say Jurassic Park 1 was really good, but as we all know, Jurassic Park 2, much like Men in Black 2, it's just a soulless cash grab.
Is it soulless or joyless? Damn
Joy- Joyless cash grab,
it.
something like that.
From Morty's Mind Blower.
Or the only thing left to go over would be how you rank this episode among the episodes so far.
I'm gonna
Because
put it as second to last.
okay, see, I'm gonna put it one higher than that. I think
Yeah.
this is not as good as the first three, but I mean, I really, really liked the first three, but
Yeah.
I'm definitely gonna put it above the last two that we saw. So I would put this 4 out of 6.
I'm reserving the right to change my mind, but I'll go ahead and leave it at second to last for now.
All right.
I gotta watch it again.
We'll do a follow-up next
Yes.
week and see I mean like I would be interested in seeing after like a week goes by how it's aged a little bit and maybe because sometimes like a wine you need to let it breathe a little bit And I found there's a lot of Rick and Morty episodes where after I let them breathe for a little bit, I'll go back and watch them again. And episodes that I didn't like as much, when I go back and watch them again, I'm like, you know what? I really like this.
You know what it is? It's not even that the episode needs to breathe for me. It's that I need to take the pressure off of myself, hoping that it's going to be this greatest episode of all time bullshit that has to go into my head every week instead of
Yeah,
just
because
relaxing and letting it be.
I
It's
think a
more
lot
on me.
of I think a lot of Rick and Morty viewers feel the same way that we do, where we have the bar so incredibly high for
Uh-huh.
every episode because I love the show so much
Yeah.
that when you're watching the episode, you just want it to be perfect and
Yeah,
you
you're
have
just
so
sitting
much
there like
pressure on
this.
it that you gotta just sometimes you just gotta relax and just watch the episode and laugh a little bit and love it.
So cool. I think that brings us to the end of this episode. I guess I just would want to encourage our viewers to check out the short, save that short because it's got that valuable information. You can share it with friends. And also, we posted a ranked video, tier video for season one, ranking the episodes in season one. So we're branching out just beyond talking about the episodes. So check all that stuff out if you're so inclined. We'd appreciate it.
Yeah, we got plenty more Rick and Morty content and plenty more content for all the great shows that we love to watch coming up soon. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Let us know what your favorite parts were of this episode. Put them down in the comments. Please, if you want to help out the channel, like and subscribe. And until next time, that's the way the news goes.
Lick, lick, lick my balls!